this is a policy that was created somewhere in the 97, 98 school year. So for the next 3 to 4 years, school board members made 25% of the base pay at that time of a school teacher. In 2003, it was voted the 2002-2003 year to freeze that. And just reading this paper, it says at the rate paid for freezing just that year. Now, obviously 19, 20 years have passed and it's still frozen. I'm under the opinion, and it's not about money to me, but I'm under the opinion that from 2003 until 2022, there would have been gradual increases for the school board. It wouldn't have been a raise of $1,000. It could have been as little as $200, and that would have been based on the teacher's base salary. So through the 20 years, it would have been a gradual increase. Here we're looking at a big increase because it's been frozen for 20 years. My opinion is this is a policy, 25% of the base pay of today's school teachers. My opinion is it should be unfroze, and it's not about the money. It's about a policy that should not ever be frozen for 20 years. I think this was intended for that particular year for a particular reason.
I agree that policy needs to be unfrozen. I think we ought to stick with the 25% until proven otherwise. But I think we ought to phase it in. The frozen salary is $6,719. If you add in inflation between 2003 and today, 2023, that's what it is. It's exactly $10,686 is the equivalent of that amount back in 2003. I think it ought to be phased in, and we keep the 25% in place as the metric we're going to look at, but recognizing that if we jump it right away, it's a big bump to the budget.
I don't want to lose the public confidence in our intentions as far as the work that we're doing. I like to earn what I'm going to get, and just being the new guy, I just felt that I haven't earned anything. It wasn't financials that I looked at when I seek this position, and I don't want to give any of my constituents the impression that that's what my intentions are. So at this time right here for me, because I've had this conversation with a couple of my board members, Mr. Price, 98% of the conversations that I get in the public is always about folks needing more money. I hate to know that that's the main concern that I'm running across so far. Hopefully that conversation will change more to educational stuff, I would like to say. But at this time right here, I would just not be inclined to request pay raises for the board simply because of the temperature out there. Everybody else who's working hard, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, we've been hearing this for a while now. We've been dealing with the pandemic at this time right here. We're not in a recession, but the pandemic came in and brought on a whole change as far as our community, and folks just needed more money because everything else was going up around them. So, like I said, I just don't want to bother the temperature of the public right now as far as what they might think our intentions are with the work that we're doing. And I know that we all are sincerely working for better education for our kids. And I'm not questioning that from any of my colleagues up here. It's just the public temperature that I'm concerned about.
Well, and I agree with Mr. Moore in the fact that you said it wasn't about a pay raise, but it would be a pay raise. We can, semantics aside, we can call it anything you want, but if we turned around and said, okay, we're unfreezing this today, and next month we get this increase, it's still a pay raise. Again, I didn't get into education for the money, obviously. But money is nice, we know that, we all like money. But the 25% concerns me. I think that's a big jump. And I know Mr. Gaskins mentioned maybe a gradual increase if we're looking to unfreeze, or maybe even, and I don't know that anybody's mentioned this, but maybe even look at the idea of just a base pay, like a stipend. So, what if the average around our counties is $8,000, but maybe we want to go with $6,000, I know there are people maybe in this room who worked in, I remember years and years ago when Georgetown County was one of the top paid school boards in the state. And we all sat back as teachers and went, what in the world? You know, as our sides, and not that our board members at that time weren't working hard, I'm not talking about that. It's just that, obviously, Horry County is a lot bigger than us, so their board members are, you know, being paid more. So maybe look at the idea of maybe a stipend, or I don't know if we can call it, you know, again, semantics, but maybe just a base for all of us. Instead of saying we're gonna increase every year, and then on the election cycle, look at it, you know, in cost of living and that sort of thing.
I can remember when the board froze the salaries, and I can remember our teachers and all of our folks having not any raises for a period of time. And it was a very difficult time, period. And then I look at where we are compared to some of the counties around us in our pay scales, and how does that compare? Because some of our sister counties pay more than we do to their employees, our teachers. So I'm inclined to say whatever we do need to look at the temperature around us, and we do need to look at our employees, and we need to be very conscious of, because at that time, the board was getting really high compensation compared to what our county folks made. And so I was on the other end of that, so I do know that that's the way it was. And I do think we need to look very seriously at, and I think a 25%, for me, that would not be something that I could support.